What do you propose?
Fancy a stroll past the throne room?
Oh,
Please remain in your quarters, Ambassador.
please, come quickly. The Earth female is suffering some kind of fit. Oh, my.
That should keep him out for the count.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 510 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 27th of April, 2024, and featuring The Death of Peladon, written by Mark Wright and starring Colin Baker as the Doctor and Bonnie Langford as Mel Bush. I am Bill Sylvia, the One in Black, and I spent enough time on the opening bump that I don't think just played that I might add it to the YouTube version. With me are color commentator Alex Fireheart.
Hello.
And I think at this point, I'm just going to call it as co-technical directors, Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
Hello.
And Mad Matt Winchell.
I has a chimichanga.
If any of us, except for Alex, cut out randomly, there are thunderstorms in all of our areas.
Mm-hmm.
The world is ending.
We all live not too far from one another at this point.
I don't want to set the world on fire.
I gotta figure out how far I am from Madison now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But close enough that when my lab member who's moving to Madison in July was scouting for apartments, he stayed with my advisor on the way. So we're clearly much closer than Ohio is. Yeah.
Oh, I will.
So in my personal news, the bad news is I'm pretty sure my TV is dead and it would cost just as much to get it repaired as it would to get a new one. The positive news is I looked it up, and I don't know if I can get the exact same TV, but with advances in technology, I can probably get the same size but more functional for under $200, which I honestly thought it would be worse than that, and I have a feeling when my mom bought this TV 5-10 years ago, it probably cost over $200, but that's one realm where, for some reason, we keep progressing.
Indeed. Home entertainment is where the money's at.
Yep. Often the personal entertainment aspect of it, but home as well. Also, it is the start of my finals week, and I'm in the calm before the storm before I really start working on my final papers.
Yeah.
Who's next?
This is my second podcast that I've run technical stuff for. Apparently, for the first time yesterday, I ran the tech stuff for Generation Cyberpunk. And that, so, cause like Methodar was having lightning issues by him. It was like I think they had actually lost a lot of their power. So it's pretty cool. I learned how to do a pop-out window of the chat with the blinking, icons for everybody that you usually see in a lot of podcasts outside of webcam footage. Pretty cool. Next.
I guess I'll go as quick as I can. Basically, the car that I'm looking at has been put into the beginnings of its testing to make sure everything's working and replace everything that isn't. borrowing my old man's car so I can get from point A to point B every day I need to work. And somehow on the way here, despite the lightning storms and everything else, it's all of a sudden technology just for like the umpteenth time today just decides to fail me, and I'm so tired of it. So when my Bluetooth speaker decided it just suddenly just wanted to keep skipping out, I started smacking it on everything, including punching it. I am so sick and tired to death of Bluetooth freaking devices not working.
Wow.
I don't know what it is. This is like the third Bluetooth speaker now.
I thought this was going to end with, and then
I
it
don't know
started
what it is.
working
This is
again.
like the third Oh, Bluetooth by the speaker time I now. was done smacking it and got up to my
this was
room,
going to
yeah, it
end
was
with,
working just
and then
fine.
it
I'm
started
like,
working.
yeah, you better. Tomorrow you're going to eat pavement if you don't.
So percussive maintenance has worked. Matt is the Fonz.
It always
Percussion maintenance
works.
has worked for me since 1990.
So yes, you are the Fonz.
Nintendo not working? Hey. I think that's about it. Yeah, nothing else really spectacular other than I ordered some stuff for one of my nephews for Christmas ahead of time because they were on sale. So, yeah. Alex?
For me, it was. I mean, work was absolutely flat out yesterday, so that was kind of annoying. I mean, it was one of those things where, like, I'm kind of glad I'm only working 4 hours, because, Jesus, like, it was that full on that I decided to, like, not take my 20-minute break until, like, 20 minutes before I finished.
Just gonna take my break and then ease my way over to the clocking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and even then, like, by the time I was heading down to have it, I realized, if I get food, I'll only have like 10 minutes of a 20-minute break, so fuck it. And I just got food on the way home.
Yep.
But
that's my Wednesday night.
Yeah, like, thankfully I'll be getting a bit more money because on the Monday I worked 6 hours instead of 4, because I've, like, basically, now that I'm, like, not on the full-time stuff anymore, I've basically been like, if you ever need me to work 5 or 6 hours, just let me know.
Yeah.
Because, like, God knows, it was kind of a miracle that both Friday and Saturday we actually had a full roster of people on. Lately the thing had been they'd be scrambling to, like, when I was doing the full-time work, my part-time thing was usually being there to cover lunches. So basically the entire time I was doing the full-time hours, we did not have a consistent person doing lunch cover.
Jeez.
So it was like, oh, okay. But now that I'm back on that, it seems to have sorted it somewhat. Of course, the funny thing is I didn't realize it until, like, right before I went back on it, that I had the weekend off and then worked Monday and then had 3 days off. Because I had now my, like, 2 days off in a row again, which are Tuesday, Wednesday, my time. And today off as well. But Thursday was Anzac Day, which is, like, depending on the business, the shops are either just shut entirely, which the shopping center that I work at just is entirely shut on it. Other businesses, they'll be like the local cinema, they'll just be, like, shut until midday and then open. So I was like, oh, sweet. 3 days off in a row, I'll take that. Yeah, it kind of felt like I needed it as just, like, a bit of a minor mental health break after those. full-time hours. But yeah, especially given how full on, of course, like as people I work with constantly joke, it's like people freak out that they can't go to the shops for one day.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
So the day back is like hectic. So
Oh, that's also been today and yesterday too. Is I noticed that yesterday was really busy for no reason near the evening, like even like 3 hours before it usually would be busy. And then all of a sudden today, when I walk in, it's like, oh my god, we actually have 5 lanes open. Holy
Ev-
smokes, what's going on?
Every time there's a day with no Instacart for whatever holiday, I'm like, oh crap! Today's the day I also ran out of all the groceries in my apartment because I didn't think to plan ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, today was also very hectic until the storm hit, and right around I want to say that was about 4:15. All of a sudden, you just hear this staticky sound, and then suddenly realize that's not static. That's millions and millions of things hitting the tin roof.
When I worked at KFC, right before a storm was often one of the busiest parts, especially if the forecast did not call for the storm and it was sunny out, and then the storm all of a sudden came out of nowhere. Those would be the days where everyone was like, we're canceling our picnics and getting chicken.
Jeez.
Now, as a grad student, I don't pay attention to time, weather, space,
It's all
much of
relative.
anything.
It's all relative.
As long as the lights are working in my apartment, I am in a bubble.
How do you get to anything without an alarm?
I set alarms.
Oh my lord. You heard it here, folks. Bill is only here because he has an alarm for this podcast.
Shit. I have an alarm. Make sure to do podcast prep. I have an alarm. Make sure to join the call. I have an alarm to tweet about the stream.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. I should probably send out tweets and treats.
Which I have not been doing because Aaron has so graciously been helping.
Yay!
I mean, hell, like, because of how late I can usually tend to get to bed, I actively put an alarm on just in case I don't wake up before, like, enough before start time to give me time to either listen to or watch or re-listen, re-watch before we start. Which in some cases has been like, I mean, thankfully today I got to bed, like, I was absolutely fucked right before midnight, so I was like, oh sweet, I'll actually be like, I think I got distracted and ended up getting to bed after 1 o'clock, but it was still just like, I was falling asleep playing video games, so I'm like, you know what, I should probably just get ready for bed now, because I think that's my body telling me to pack it in.
No. Lately, when I go to bed, I'm falling asleep in my chair, get up, get to bed, and then I'm just sitting there for a half hour going, why am I here? I thought I was nodding off. What happened?
Yeah. Very, very often with the sitting on the couch, like, oh, I can barely stay awake. I need to stop what I'm doing and just get my ass to bed. Then I lie in bed like, so am I going to fall asleep anytime soon?
Yeah, I basically, unless I'm like absolutely like ready to just pass out tired, lately I've had to just put on either a podcast or like a compilation that's however long of like videos that I've seen before to distract my brain to allow me to sleep.
That appears to be it for me too. Is I'll be watching something, all of a sudden I'll just nod off, even though it's something I wanted to watch. I'm like, what the heck? Get to bed, and then it's like I can't sleep. Why? Apparently, my brain just wants background noise all the time, and it's like, why? Why do I need this? Why do you need to do this to me? Because half the time I'll be playing the background noise in bed, and then you still won't let me sleep.
So now that this has become a group session on insomnia, it's time to introduce today's show.
NyQuil.
So tonight we have wee bit of birthdays, wee bit of news, wee bit of geek talk, and then we have our episode summary, review, final thoughts, and ratings.
A wee bit of ratings?
Hopefully normal amount of ratings. Well, we could have one extra if anybody wants to catch up on anything, but I haven't heard about that, so I assume it's not happening. Alex can kick us off with the birthdays.
Yep. So on the 21st of April, we have Anthony Reid, was the Doctor Who script editor from 78 to 79. Would have been 89, but died in 2015 at the age of 80. Also on the 21st of April, we have Gerald Flood, who played Chameleon from 83 to 84. Would have been 97, but died in 1989 at the age of 61. And finally, oh, whoops. I was almost going to say finally, and then I realized, no, we do have two left.
It is the final date, but there are two people.
Well, yeah. Yeah. On the 27th, first we have Jenna Coleman, who played Clara Oswald, and her time clones from 2012 to 2015, turned 38. For some reason, I almost think she's slightly younger than me, or just much closer in age, but no, she's about 5 years older than me. And finally, also on the 27th, we have Russell T Davies, the showrunner from 2005 to 2010, and then again from 2023 to now, turned 61. So happy birthday to Anthony, Gerald, Jenna, and Russell.
All right,
We're going to remind ourselves that Alex is the wee babe of this podcast. And that was the way, because there's a bigger gap than 5 years between you and me. It's called 6.
Oh no, 6.
Well, I guess. I guess actually I'd probably be 4 years younger than her because I turned 34 in November.
So,
And that makes me realize that Aaron is the only one who we've never discussed age, which I don't know. Well, yeah, let's leave it at that until a birthday comes up anyway. On to episode news. This is more of a procedural news, but it's specifically referring to an article in the 2024 series, so we'll go with it there. So Paul Kirkley, I forget if we know who that is, revealed that LED screen technology used by other high-end productions was used for the first time on the Doctor Who episode Boom. Okay, the way the episode is the way this is written, at first I thought it had said it was used for the third time, but no, this is the first time Doctor Who used that technology. Is this more Disney influence?
Oh yeah, it's called the volume. Disney calls it the volume. That's the LED immersive soundstage.
So it's used extensively on productions like The Batman, which is a movie, so we shouldn't really be comparing them, and the Star Wars TV shows, replacing the traditional green screen process with a vast bank of LED screens, which is what's known as volume, plus live camera tracking. So that's, I think I've seen it sometimes referred to as using a projection, but I don't think it. I don't think there's ever been one with a projector involved. I think it was just this that people were mistaken about using, basically, instead of going out and making a set, or of needing to green screen something, putting actual images there, which is probably much nicer for the actors, I know some actors have been very annoyed by working on things like Avengers and Star Wars because they're like, okay, I act in front of a green screen. My co-star is not with me because he's going to be green screened in later. This is not what I trained for. So here it's a little different. You instead of acting in front of a green screen, they actually get to see at least some of what the audience is going to see. So they mentioned that the cost of filming on location is extreme, whereas this is a little cheaper than that, and that you're less likely to need as much effects compared to going on location.
Plus, you don't
I
have
don't
to deal
necessarily
with
know
weather
about that.
issues.
True. I imagine that that's a much bigger difference for things like sci-fi productions rather than, say, fantasy and historicals. Because I mean, even in the same season, we know there are episodes that were filmed on location. At the same time, filming on location on what looks like a possibly like post-apocalyptic planet. I mean, unless you're just going to film everything at a gravel quarry, this is probably a better bet. As long as it looks right.
I never thought I'd live to see the day where green screen was considered old technology. I mean, I know it's been around for forever, but like obsolete technology, stuff that people don't use anymore because it's used so often everywhere.
Film on location for the apocalypse. You mean they don't want to go to film in Detroit?
Let me put it this way. 15 years ago, it became common that if you were a successful YouTube channel, you had your own green screen and could manage to make it look pretty good. That in and of itself probably says that the film industry would have moved quite a bit beyond that at this stage. At this point, reaction channels use green screen. So
I don't even.
The mileage may vary on those reaction channels.
Yeah. I don't even use a green screen. Sorry.
I mean, like, I could, if I had the money, they're still not cheap, but like, if I had the money, I could walk into a store at the shopping center I work in and buy one.
Oh yeah, it's usually more the how easy versus difficult it is to do in the actual editing software that makes the difference.
Yeah.
That said, the main reason I don't have any sort of green screen background available for me is unless you have like a nice flat wall with no furniture on it right behind you, you need some sort of rig to hold it up in place, and that I currently do not have.
Who needs a green screen nowadays anyways? You have digital avatars that will talk when your lips move.
Or you can use NVIDIA Broadcast, which has its own green screen effect built into it. So.
Good to know, because I know things like Zoom and such have that. I didn't know if there was something available for your own filming, but we have veered wildly off topic. We have even veered we have even veered into the topic of promoting VTubing. So more filming news.
Do not know my work.
More filming news. Shootigato and Millie Gibson were recently seen filming for the 2025 series near Cardiff Central. I thought they had filmed this series, so either these are pickup scenes or I'm just maybe I'm mixing things up in my head. But I thought they were on break right now. So these might be extra scenes, or I'm not entirely sure. I may just have been wrong.
It's for the 2025 series.
Yes. But I thought they had filmed that too. But it's possible I was mixing things up because there's especially when they do the 2024 season, the 2024 Christmas special, the 2025 season, and the 2025 Christmas special, all as if they're separate productions instead of just treating the Christmas specials as a different block of the same production.
Like, yeah, it could be any number of things. It could be I mean, usually I forget. Is the special usually lumped in with the series that follows or the series that preceded it?
It varies.
Because like it
And I
could
think
be like
some of that is literally just like Wikipedia editors trying to make heads or tails of things. I don't know if it might be like on certain Blu-rays they might be lumped together. Usually they try to do the whole like, oh, it's not part of the season at all, and we're like, listen, we still have to experience time in a linear manner. We can't just say this season popped out of nowhere, because what's going to happen is we're just going to skip it and never watch it because it's not part of a season.
A part of the season, it's no longer canon. Bye.
I've been sitting here while we're talking, trying to figure out if this controlled zone sign is part of a filming worth commenting on, or if that's just something that already exists in London. I have not been in London outside of the airport, so I could not tell you. But there's a lot of people dressed very similarly to one another, and a sign saying City of London Controlled Zone, Zone 47. That all sounds like sci-fi elements to me. But it could just be the way London is. I'm not entirely sure. Although somebody did comment there are people commenting on Twitter about the excess of bowler hats in the filming shots.
Yeah. There's tons of stuff in this article, tons of shots here.
Yeah, and that's why I try to just look for I try to just skim through them and see which ones are worth commenting on.
Everyone
Because
can be happy.
90% of them are just, oh, the stars of Doctor Who were on a set that we think is Doctor Who. And yeah.
Follow Conrad without question. Conrad blank our hard blank. More
What happened
controls and
now?
stuff. I'm reading some of the posters. It looks like propaganda posters for probably a death spot or something. There's a little crowd.
Oh, okay. So that's some of the images that I just have not seen yet. I was like, why are you reading off code? Are you a robot now? So yeah, the way these images do kind of give the vibe that controlled zone sort of thing might be added to the setting. I did see some images of Ruth Madeley, so Unit is probably involved.
Yep. In fact, there's one post that says the crown logo is present on the front of the entrance to Unit. I think we're either looking at a unit that's been taken over or a parallel unit. So that is Doctor Who filming locations on X, formerly known as Twitter.
And that is an account that we've used as a source before, so...
What does DWSR stand for? Hashtag DWSR.
Doctor Who...
shooting something? Not sure exactly
Season
what the R
return
would
or
be.
series return or something?
Maybe I'm trying to find any tweet that spells it out, but the ones that use it seem to just be so ingrained in that they don't.
Like it's all related to like stuff of them filming, so all I can assume is that it's related to that somehow.
Right.
Let me see here.
Doctor Who set reports.
Yep, I actually just found that on Acronym Finder.
Yep.
So now I learned a thing.
And now I have too many Twitter windows open. Okay, closing them.
I just stuck with the article and scrolled
Well, because it's because you kept saying you were reading them off of Twitter.
Oh well, they're Twitter reports, but they're on.
But no, I was. Oh, there we go. That sign that I was looking for, and the reason I had so many Twitter windows because you can't zoom into every window. There's somebody took a photo of it just by itself in HD. too Vanilla-esque if you're to that point. So that the fact that people are sharing photos of it mean it's not part of normal London.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Zone 47 doesn't sound like something I've normally heard associated with London.
I'm on the images of the police cars with the crown on the window and the word police basically on the side as a sign.
Questions cause problems. That's
disturbing.
Is this the 1984 episode?
It seems like it.
Maybe.
Is this
View
the
this
same
post
universe that
on
Inferno took place in?
No, that one got exploded.
Yeah.
Only a part of the planet.
Didn't they unleash hell, which burned up the planet or something?
Yeah, it completely died.
My understanding is the impression is that the Earth was destroyed.
Yeah.
But it could be a very similar one.
Hmm.
Anyway, we've spent a long time on that. Well, we don't have a ton of news, but we still spent a long time on that. So we'll go on to new releases news. And we'll go on to this book, and I'm going to try not to talk forever about how this cover sucks, has JPEG artifacting even on the official sales thing, and could probably have been made better by a high school student with some graphic design experience, and focus on the actual blurb itself. So this is an anthology of short stories set in the Paradise Towers from the 7th Doctor era. And will be published by Obverse Books. Okay, they give some detail on the Paradise Towers episode, which is not super relevant at the moment.
Oh, one of the editors is from Crunchyroll. I wonder if that's why the image sucks so much.
Well, I hope the editors are not. That's the thing. The editors and the publish, they should not be the ones making the cover.
Yeah.
There should be professionals doing, like, people get paid for that.
You can pay me to do that.
While I don't condone this, shitty AI does that as well, and it usually also looks awful, but would probably at least have more details than this.
And would probably pick a font where the C doesn't look like an O with like a tiny little bit missing.
I mean, without the JPEG artifacting, that's probably wouldn't be so bad. But so this is.
I'm pretty sure I made this art back when I was in middle school on Windows Paint.
So this is an anthology edited by Kara Dennison, who's worked in Crunchyroll and Iris Wildtime. I don't.
Oh,
Okay, now
graphic
I have to
design
look it up
by,
because I need to know if that's who.
graphic
created
design
Iris
by
Wildtime or what.
Cody Shell. Shell? Cody SH or SCH something like ALL or something like that. I want to look up this person's name.
Where are you seeing that?
You actually click on the image and you can see it next to the Obverse Books logo. Cody, I'm coming for you, Cody. 2 art degrees. I will school you on how to do this.
I would not have put my name on this.
Yeah.
Right. Which is all the more reason why we need to dig in deep.
This looks like it was cheaply independently published, and the fact that it wasn't and actually has a label on it, that the publishing house should also be upset by this, to be honest.
How do you spell that last name? SCH.
I think it looks like SCH something Shawl or something like that.
Now, remember, we're not here to make a hit piece. There are people who have done worse things. Now, okay. So I looked up Kara Dennison, who edited this anthology together, just because it says Crunchyroll Iris Wildtime. I wanted to see what, if she's the writer of Iris Wildtime. But she wrote a single Iris Wildtime short story. So that she may be known for that among Doctor Who fans, but that's not necessarily the main, a huge thing she's done. But yeah, so she edited together different stories about Paradise Towers, one of which is by Stephen Wyatt, who created the Paradise Towers and wrote the episode in the first place. And then there's also Mags L. Halliday, who's worked on the Faction Paradox series, which is a Doctor Who novel spin-off series. Finn Clark and Paul Driscoll, who did Seasons of War. I'm not sure if that's Time War or not, but either way, that's Gallifrey from Big Finish. And Tim Gambrell, who's worked on Unit and Lethbridge Stewart content, along with other people. So we basically have a bunch of people who have done either Doctor Who or Doctor Who adjacent content, producing short stories set in the Paradise Towers, including the creator of that episode. So yeah, maybe worth it. Hopefully the writing is better than the cover. This is one of those examples where you hopefully don't judge a book by its cover, but again, the cover kind of indicates that the budget was $2.
Almost all of their covers are like this. For
Oh,
Obverse
great.
books.
Ooh.
Yeah,
so
it's
yeah, that's
they have Spock's brain and a few other looks like adaptations in here. Through the Valley of Shadows, Return of the something
So
something.
what I'm finding very quickly is that they were previously a script writer for the Dark Shadow stuff Big Finish did.
they meaning which person? There were a lot of people.
Cody Shell, the person who did the
Gotcha.
cover art for the book.
So I mean,
Weird
I'm not surprised to hear that the person who made the cover has no background in graphic design. But again, I would think the average author graduating from high school or college would be able to put together a better one. So that's still kind of frustrating.
It kind of makes me rage because I could do better and yet no one will hire me.
But yeah, so this is currently available. It's available for pre-order. It's £15. It gets published on the 20th of May. And I don't want to enter my PayPal stuff just to get the correct shipping information. They might ship to the U.S., but I'm not entering my PayPal information. So.
Mr. Cody here and I quote, has prepared almost all of Ever's books covers and for print.
Really? Where did you see that?
Yes, so all these Adverse books are all these covers are all done by the same person.
Where
Yep.
are they?
Yeah.
I mean, where are you seeing this?
I happen to find their wiki.
Yeah.
I happen to find Adverse Books wiki, which mentions them.
Yeah, I found his Twitter, and he lists himself as an artist and designer for them.
I mean, I do see some better covers that they have, but this is not among them. Anyway, Big Finish on April 23rd released The Paternoster Gang, Trespassers 2, The Casebook of Paternoster Row, written by James Kettle, Gary Russell, Stuart Pringle, and Lauren Mooney, and starring all of the Paternosters, Nev McIntosh, Katrin Stewart, Dan Starkey, as well as Tom Baker, although Tom Baker was not listed as starring, so this may be a cameo situation like David Tennant and Peladon. It's unclear, and I'm not,
I was actually just thinking about them, like whatever happened to a Paternoster gang.
Well, here's how you can find out more.
Eh.
And that is it for our Doctor Who news.
I have a stopwatch.
So up next, Alex gets to talk about Vampire Survivors, the Nintendo Switch port, which I believe Matt has covered. Nintendo Survivors, Vampire Survivors PC version. Is that right?
Yes, I believe I did cover it at one point. It was very fun until it just got really repetitive, constantly trying to keep up with all the achievements. which they just keep adding more with every single free DLC drop. So it's like, oh lord.
It looks
Yeah, like
interesting.
I'm pretty sure I've been aware of the game for like possibly since it came out by virtue of the fact that Stephanie Sterling did some of the lore stuff for it. Which when a friend said it, like the the descriptions in that for creatures is very their humor is like actually reading someone like, yeah, that definitely tracks. But yeah, like I'd never played it. Of course, it's funny. The friend that got me to try it the first time was like, "Oh, don't! It's really addictive." So you're probably better off not. And then he comes over again. And is like, "Here, here's my Switch. I'll let you play it to see how you like it."
I'll give you
And
a taste.
I like I played it.
Man.
I played it long enough, undocked like that, just like lying down, that it ended up getting to a point where my hands kind of felt like they were gonna go numb. So I was like, okay, I should probably stop now. But yeah, literally the next day I was like, well, it's cheap. Why not? I bought that and all the DLC. On the Switch, which cost me like less than $15 Australian. Though to be fair, I used some points I had on the eShop to get it a little cheaper than it otherwise would have been, but still very cheap. And yeah, like I've definitely sunk quite a lot of hours into this already, so I'm definitely hooked. And it's interesting because I'm noticing it's one of those games. I think because I had the preconceived notion of this is one where you should expect to fail a lot. So I haven't really gotten like angry yet. Because like I'm very much someone who can rage at video games. But I guess because I went in with a preconceived notion of it's kind of expected that you will probably die a lot. So it's like, whatever. Like effectively after like when I started playing it for myself, I would effectively treat it the same way I treat like Animal Crossing or Splatoon now, where I'll mute the TV because I primarily play docked and like throw on YouTube videos or music or something, and just zone out and play it that way. And it will say some characters are definitely like, oh, this isn't it. I'm probably not gonna try again with them for a while. Because like each character you can unlock has a different weapon or ability or whatever to start with. And some of them, it's kind of ridiculous because some of them are very, by comparison, kind of overpowered. I mean, I've got a lot of the like unlocks to boost everyone from like as a start, but at this point, just because of the sheer amount of time and the like less than a week that I've had it so far. But yeah, it's just like it's part of why I didn't get to listening to the story that we're covering this week until this morning, because I was so distracted just constantly either playing this or watching wrestling or whatever. But yeah, for such a low entry point for like, and it would have been brought up when Matt covered it, I think, as well. But the guy who made
It was
this,
like a buck or less, yeah.
yeah, like when the guy who made this previously worked in slot machines, So it's occurred to me that like, okay, so instead of using his powers for evil and making something that's got microtransactions coming out from every orifice, it's
Microtransactions? What?
transactions. Um like all I can figure is that, instead of having that kind of a thing, which you'd almost kind of expect from someone who was working on something like slot machines, it's just all the uh the happy like little ping noises and etc. and numbers go up and hooray. But it's a low entry point of cost, and you're not having to constantly funnel money into it to like get anything out of it. So it's a lot more ethical way of just give someone who has a gambling addiction that, and they'll hear all the nice ping noises and shit and numbers going up, and they don't have to worry about getting like sinking their life savings into a slot machine.
Losing their house.
Yeah. So it's like it's a way that it's very clearly targeted at people with addictive personalities, I'd say, but it's more ethical in that it's not like, Overwatch with all the loot boxes or all this extra paid stuff and blah. And again, extremely cheap compared to something like that as well, obviously. Because base game was under $10. The DLC combined was under $10. So yeah, like definitely if you're into that kind of stuff and like into like bullet hell kind of things, I would say it's worth a look. Interestingly enough, apparently they're going to have DLC that's like Contra themed, but no Castlevania yet. And I realize that Castlevania and Contra are both owned by the same studio, I think, so it's a bit weird.
Well, it's themed like, and to be honest, the game is already themed like Castlevania.
Right,
heavily.
yeah. Maybe that's why they figure it's a
They're
bit
just
on-brand.
making it legally distinct so that they can keep doing these Konami's-esque titles stuff in their game, but not have to pay rights.
Yeah.
Which is honestly the smart way to go about it. Also, by the way, I would highly recommend if you are addicted to Vampire Survivors, don't play Halls of Torment. I prefer Halls of Torment currently over Vampire Survivors, by the way. Take the Diablo theme of Vampire Survivors, make it take the Castlevania of Vampire Survivors, make it Diablo, make it so that everything you do counts and doesn't feel like a drag. Like every single little bit of success you have helps unlock more things with the characters, unlocking bigger things to unlock for them, getting them more abilities and stuff, and it's just been a absolute joy of a grind. I'm like barely more than halfway through it. At 44 hours.
Jeez.
And it's $6 to buy the Halls of Torment, by the way.
Wow. I might actually just go and buy that.
Because again, it's very much Diablo themed because it's very much the old like pseudo-realistic digital art from the 90s. It literally feels like you're playing a Diablo character in the middle of the screen, just smacking everything that comes near you. But you also get side quests and stuff to do. That's how you get your loot in the game, in fact. But anyways.
Yeah, that's about all I've got.
All right. Can I actually squeeze something in then really quick?
Sure.
Because I forgot to I also just kind of showed up last minute, but I also finished something this week. I finished the 4th and final installment of Thief. If you're looking for it or an image for it, just title Thief 2014. They're very unoriginal at the title. Originally, this was supposed to be Thief 4, but they decided to just basically make it into a pseudo reboot, even though it's still technically a sequel. Yeah, as was the style at the time, because they did that a lot of franchises, sadly. So Thief 2014, I will say this. The gameplay, when it actually realizes it's supposed to be a stealth game, is really good. When it forgets it's a stealth game and wants to force you to do combat, it's when I suddenly have every frustration in the world because none of the buttons are what combat buttons should be. If you need to melee somebody, you have to hit R.
Really?
Yes, that's your melee attack instead of left click. Left click makes you bring up your bow, and that's the worst weapon to bring up in a melee combat.
On PC. I was gonna say, I'm like, R on like a PlayStation controller. That's not too bad if you're mimicking a right fist, but on a computer, that's just weird.
Yeah, it should definitely be left and right click.
And also, your dodge, I believe, was supposed to be like V or B. I'm like, what the fuck? By the end of the game, I moved it to T, and I could at least occasionally dodge something in a blue moon. And one of the worst things is that the second to last boss fight in the game is a forced melee combat. I found a way around it, though. So one of the things they added to this game is that you can hit F, and essentially you go into, like, I don't know, like a hunter's vision or whatever, like they do in The Witcher and some of the Assassin's Creed games and stuff, where you kind of go to this special vision where you can track stuff. Essentially, in Thief, with this game, you can hit F and everything turns weird blue and makes weird, like, furnace noises as you're moving around. Apparently, it helps you also stealth even in broad light. And if you're in combat, it helps you target weak spots. And in particular, with this boss fight, you just keep hammering the R, and you can also keep, when it comes up, you can just keep hitting him in the leg. And as long as you have enough of the poppies, which you use to recharge that meter, you just keep hammering him until he gives up. That's the lamest boss fight I have ever seen. And that's the only way you get through it. Otherwise, you're supposed to, I think, stealth it, but it's such a clumsy room to stealth in. It's obviously just they're forcing you to do combat. And you might as well just, again, break the combat with the special ability thing so you just get through it and be done with it. Also, the guy you're fighting is a complete and total a-hole, possible RP, rhymes with grape. Also, a number of other things, including literally no respect for the dead, etc., etc., etc. This man. So I don't care anymore. I'm going to mess up his day. Possibly also did something to the character we're trying to find and save again. So it's like, once more, it's like, nah, I'm going to wreck your day because you just interfered for like the 5th time and I'm done with you. Also, we need to get him back for shooting us in the hand. That was not cool.
I know, man. Like, really?
And to top it all off, so the gameplay can be either really good or really bad depending upon what the game's forcing you into. The story sucks. There's some moments where it looks like it could actually go into something interesting, and then they immediately do something to basically just makes you feel like you stubbed your toe. And the ending is like just a big old, oh, so what the hell actually just happened here? Nothing? Did we just revert everything back to where everything was when we were at the beginning of the game now? What the hell even happened? What happened to the character we were trying to save? No answers. You were expecting a sequel and it never happened, didn't you? Nah, this was terrible. You guys blew this up. Which is sad because the previous 3 installments were really good, and I was actually kind of hoping for a continuation after 3. Shame. Yeah, so I'm finally done with the Thief franchise. Highly recommend 1 through 3. If you're playing on PC in particular, they actually have a lot of big fans out there with a lot of good fixes for them. In particular, with Thief 3, they got rid of half of the loading screens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's an improvement, especially for a early 2000s game. That's like, oh, thank you. I only have to load when I go into a completely different sector instead of just loading because I turned the corner at the end of the street. Thank you. Highly recommend the first 3 games. There's a lot of good fixes out there. They're very easy to install, and they work perfectly fine on any modern computer. 2014 works out of the box, but it's a clunky mess, which is very saddening because I believe the people that were, at least the people behind the gameplay of it, have done better games. I believe they're the ones that made the Dishonored series. So they know how to do at least pseudo stealth. It's just kind of like what happened. I think there was actually a lot of development hell that went behind this too, so it wasn't completely their fault. There was just a lot of stuff going on between studios that messed it up. Which is why we don't get nice things like a Thief 4. Or, at this point, I would prefer a Thief 4. The voice actor for the original Garrett is still out there. So he's said multiple times if they ever get it going again, he's willing to do it.
Wow, we've talked a lot about Thief.
Yeah, that's Thief. That's Thief 4. It's done now. I get to move on.
Welcome to the Thief podcast.
I believe... Which one was it now? It's on my list here somewhere. I have the game already installed that I'm going to play next. It's a short, indie retro game. I got it for my birthday from Sarah. Where are you? It's hiding here somewhere. Oh, RoboCop is on my short list, though.
Yep.
That needs to be played, but I need to
Doctor
get
Who.
the second movie first. But yeah, anyways.
So, time for the episode summary, and I'm ready for a countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, we start off with 3 scenes that are basically happening concurrently. The Doctor and Mel arrive in the mines of Peladon. They immediately find a man who has been murdered by being struck in the back of the head. And then they find a bomb, and the Doctor attempts to disarm it. He fails to disarm it, orders Mel to go back to the TARDIS, and then the bomb goes off, bringing the mines around them, and the two become separated. Helais, a community leader, speaks to the people following the death of her grandmother due to illness. They've experienced poverty, famine, and an absent monarchy. However, this speech is interrupted by the collapse of the mines, which has led to a massive sinkhole and over 100 deaths. Alpha Centauri arrives on Peladon to meet with the Queen Minaris, who is attended by her daughter Isabelda. Isabelda is immediately hostile to Alpha Centauri, and it is quickly clear that she is hostile to the Galactic Federation they represent. The meeting is interrupted by news of the sinkhole and of the discovery of Mel. Helais finds the Doctor, whom she informs the mine is closed off until it is safe to search for survivors. Helais explains that the mines have run out of trisilicate, causing Peladon's economic and political downfall. The Doctor then discovers that the well that they use to drink from is contaminated with trisilicate, poisoning the locals. After Mel recovers, she and Alpha Centauri attempt to persuade Queen Minaris to visit the sinkhole and make a statement, reassure the people. The Queen agrees against Isabelda's protest. When they arrive, the Doctor and Mel reunite. The Doctor briefly reunite. The Doctor tries to explain the trisilicate situation to the Queen, but Isabelda demands the guards shove the Doctor and Helais aside so they can travel on to the sinkhole. Helais produces a chain of office owned by her ancestor, Hapesh, who was the High Priest from the Curse of Peladon, and demands the Queen embrace the planet's spiritual heritage. The Doctor tries to convince Queen Minaris to ask the Federation for help, but Isabelda pushes the Queen to ignore them both. In response, Helais attacks the Queen and is banished in return, as the Royals and Alpha Centauri leave for safety. Helais immediately rallies her people, revealing that they have energy weapons prepared for an assault on the Citadel, in response to the apparent apathy of the Queen. Within the Queen's party, Alpha Centauri and Mel try to convince Minaris to ask the Federation for help. Isabelda declares that this is Alpha overreaching their role and demands that they and Mel be confined to quarters. They do get help in order to evade the guards and notice that Isabelda is sneaking around using hidden corridors. Helise and her rebels arrive, with the Doctor following and begging futilely for them to cancel the attack. Mel reveals the existence of the bomb and the murdered man to Alpha Centauri just as they find a communication panel that Isabelda has been using to communicate with Arcturans. Isabelda tries to convince Minaris to abandon the planet. Then the rest of the cast kind of arrive and convene at the throne room one at a time, where the Doctor pulls a Boosh thermal detonator bluff to convince Helise not to execute the Queen, and Mel reveals that Isabelda is behind Helise's weapons as well as the bomb in the mines. This was all Isabelda's plot to convince the Queen to leave the planet that she had determined was a lost cause. In exchange for taking them off planet, Arcturus would have free reign over what was left of Peladon's resources. Isabelda wounds Alpha and takes her mother as a hostage to escape. Helise shoots Isabelda to keep her from killing Minaris. Sometime later, Federation ships arrive to help. They excavate the TARDIS. Alpha Centauri stays behind on Peladon as special ambassador. The Doctor fixes a music box that Minaris inherited from Thalira, and the Doctor and Mel depart. The end.
All right, that was 4 minutes, 22 seconds, 17 nanoseconds or something? Anyway.
That's why we don't go to those, because no one knows what to call those.
Probably milliseconds, but yeah. That's got to be the longest it's gone for a fully written out summary that I've done. Usually when I write the summary, it's like under 3 minutes. And granted, I tried not to rush through reading it because I figured that it was short enough. I had plenty of time. But I almost hit 5 minutes. Not like super close, but closer than I would have expected. All right. Oh yeah, and I didn't mention the Ice Warriors did not appear in this. So now we have 2 stories with no Ice Warriors and 3 Ice Warrior stories with no Peladon. So we almost need a Peladon playlist. Anyway, the pecking order. Alex, what did you like about this story?
God, it's one of those things where I feel like I had a specific overarching, but what was it? I guess I do like that we are continuing the through line through, I think, all of these so far with the environmental, because there's it's funny because the way they talk about it in the interviews, it seems like they pitch it as seeming like the through line is going to be like the Royals or something like that, and I mean, there is always still focus on them, but it feels like the environmental stuff is that, because that is the one thing that has been consistently, I feel, I mean, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like of the ones we've covered, it's always someone like the cult
poisoning
leader
and
and
ruination of Peladon itself, yeah.
Yeah. Like the guy in the first one who thought he was a healer and that was just, poisoned from that water. And then it comes up again in the second one, and then this.
I mean, in the second one, the issues were slave labor by the one guy and God damn it, what was the other? It was complex enough that I'm not remembering what the actual main bad guy was. Oh yeah, the anarchy cultist mafia guy.
Right.
To be fair, there's also a lot of intrigue about people trying to take the planet for its resources too. So
Right. Yeah.
Which in
And I think,
and of itself
I mean,
also brings up some of the mentions
and
of
that-
the
Yeah.
issues of the environment.
that specific part, the Arcturans wanting to just mine the shit out of the planet, has been ongoing since the very first Peladon story in the 70s.
Mm. And like if nothing else, it's like it's still, even if it's not like as big a focus, they do definitely bring up that the water coming out of the dam in the second one was still poisoned. It's just that the water going in was okay, but the water that was actually
Oh
coming
yeah,
out
because
was...
Actually, it wasn't so much it was poisoned as it was drugged.
Ah,
Which-
yeah.
potato.
One kills you, the other one makes you sedated.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost killed Alpha Centauri and would have killed the Queen. So it's just it's a level of dosage. Not...
But yeah, so it's nice that even though I like from the first to the second, we were like, well, that's a bit weird that we've just left that dangling. But it is nice that there has been some kind of a through line so far. At least in these first three. It'll be interesting to see if they're still dealing with that in the next one. But given how this ends, I'm assuming that will be probably not the case. We'll see.
We'll see. Maybe it will still take part in it.
I mean, we know that the 10th Doctor was still looking to see like how Peladon turns out in the future, and this story is featuring the 8th Doctor, so we probably don't actually get the happy ending. Probably still all sorts of fucked up.
One way to find out. Tune in next week. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
On to Matt.
Okay, I'll go to my notes that I made earlier. In case I couldn't make it tonight, I have made notes. General overall thing. Honestly, just having a Dr. Mel story. We didn't really get a lot of Dr. Mel, 6th Doctor and Mel, back in the day because of all the weird shenanigans and goings on behind the scenes, etc.
Right.
And honestly, the little time we did get, they did seem to be pretty good playing off each other. And this definitely shows it a lot more, even though they're not together often in the story. The times they are together, they're like, you know what to do. Yep, going.
Yeah, from the BBC's point of view, they introduced Mel in one story, then canceled Doctor Who, brought back Doctor Who, fired the Doctor.
Yeah.
And Mel was then with a different Doctor for a season. But I think Big Finish has done a
Big
bit.
Fish has been doing a lot of the stuff to help patch that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just like I like the banter when they're in the same room together, and I like the shows. There's been a lot more time than what we actually got on the TV show between the two of them, and it works off very well between the two of them, the 6th Doctor and Mel.
All right, Aaron, what did you like?
Let me see here. I kind of like how we, kind of following on Alex's idea with the environment, I want to follow up on the political stuff. It's still very much kind of a political drama, which is, seems to be a lot of the Peladon series. But I like seeing it. It seems like we're seeing the planet of Peladon move slowly from monarchy to an actual democracy eventually. Because they did mention it in the Poison of Peladon, that Alpha Centauri and I think River also mentioned that they're slowly moving towards democracy and everything. And we kind of see in this one, we kind of see the monarchy is kind of dying out. Spoiler alert, we do see the the princess, the last princess, presumably in line for the throne, is dead. Well, not really, but yeah, she's presumably dead, and presumably that's going to be the end of the Peladon line.
That reminds me, in my summary, I remember I had scrolled back to add Hele's becoming Chancellor to the summary, but I must have gotten distracted because I never included it.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's a little more important than the music box.
Yeah, because it's she becomes prime minister, so and so that's kind of the first step away from monarchy, at least. Parliament, prime minister, and all that. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting to see. It's kind of sad because it was fun to trace the family line. I'm trying to figure out who's related to who by how much. Like we hear mention of the huh?
I was just gonna say, well, technically, we're still following family lines by that reasoning, but it's just
Well,
not the royal family line anymore.
Yeah.
I was
it's
gonna
not-
say it should have been except because Arimem from Earth became a queen at one point. So that probably means that it's not the same royal line unless she just married into the family.
She married into the family, as I recall.
Okay. Oh, is that a story that you've heard or read?
I thought that was something that they covered in one of the older episodes.
Well, not. I mean, we didn't cover any of the older Peladon big finishes, if that's what you mean.
No, I thought that was like one of the original.
From
Am I
like
mixing up
first-
stuff now too?
Arimem did not exist in the 70s. They introduced her as a Fifth Doctor companion years later.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think she was created for Big Finish, or yeah.
Interesting.
I would assume they had married in. Otherwise, I'm not sure how you can legally call yourself king or queen.
I mean, you conquering.
I'm not entirely sure that's the way a companion would behave, unless it's River Song.
I mean, Leela would. This is a bad. This is a bad king. This king is cruel to his people. This is now a dead king. I am the queen. Like that's how Leela would do it.
I was rewarded for my regicide with monarchy.
Yeah, because I was
And I
just
continued to spread word and rumor that I myself killed the previous king, to which I was constantly told by all my people that I was a lying son of a gun.
yeah, because I was just looking at the I think it's TARDIS wiki, Death of Peladon, and I'm having a lot of fun like looking up like the Peladon line, because they have it like the Peladon is succeeded by like a son, but then there's also a daughter who I believe is Thalira, and then a grandchild, or Thalira has a grandchild and stuff like that. Some of them are unnamed and everything, but if you go through the wiki, you can actually find like their line at least a little bit. So,
But yeah, it's and I not having followed all of that, there is a line in this where Isabelda basically insinuates that the Peladons are somebody else that they're not related to. And then of course the queen then later says, "Oh yes, he is my ancestor or whatever." So, which at least my interpretation was, you talk about the truth within your family, but then you put whatever is going to put you in the most power when you're talking about a stranger who might influence events.
I mean, we are still technically following, because I'm pretty sure this is the queen in this is the granddaughter from Poison, isn't it? The one that
Can't be
almost
there.
died.
Her name started with an S.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that was Solana.
I was saying, no,
yeah,
I don't think so.
Solana.
That seems like
Solana,
more than just a generational
yeah.
gap. It's in a couple generational gaps now
Yeah.
between the second and third one.
Also, supposedly, Alpha Centauri is 2,100 years old or something.
Yeah. Yeah, because I looked it up. So, of course, we know Alpha Centauri was alive in the late 19th century Earth time, because of Empress of Mars. And this is supposed to be set in like the year, a story before this. And I'm assuming TARDIS Wiki is correct because I haven't done all the research myself. Is set in the year 3900. So, Alpha Centauri was alive all of that time, and is still alive after the fact. Granted, we don't know about Do they travel using cryosleep? Do they go into stasis and not age? Is there, relativistic time dilation involved? This isn't a Time Lord. We don't we've seen the Ice Warriors using cryosleep. We don't necessarily know what Alpha Centauri's people are capable of.
Probably as much, if not more.
We do know that there is a basement with a notice in in the Alpha Centauri system saying that the Earth is scheduled for demolition in order to build a bypass.
Got to build bypasses. Just don't forget your towel.
So now it's on to me then, isn't it? So I've been trying to come up with something specific because I like the story, but when I try to come up with a specific, I've been having some trouble nailing it down to one thing. I guess I'll say something that comes to mind. Even though this is kind of a criticism of the previous story, I like how this is not the Alpha Centauri from Poison of Peladon. We don't see them flirting it up with Mel and all of that happening. Because I thought that was, kind of a bit of a deviation from the character previously. And this is basically returned to the character rather than just saying, oh yeah, the big Finnish canon is that Alpha Centauri is, flirts with the Doctor's friends and, things like that. So yeah, this is normal Alpha Centauri and not horned up River Song Alpha Centauri.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need the giant penis to be that horny.
Oh my.
And on that note, Alex, what did you dislike about the story?
Trying to think if there is an overall aspect that I disliked. I guess. Oh my god, what's her name again? Isabelda?
Yep. It's just close enough to a regular Earth name to trip off your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She just I don't know, it came off a bit. I mean, I will say it is kind of funny that she's kind of the first so far where it doesn't really feel like there's a red herring villain. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, she's the bad guy from the minute she's introduced on screen until the very end of the episode.
Literally a privileged little princess who was no, I want to get while it's
little brat.
The first thing you see her do is, here's this beloved character that fans have always enjoyed. I hate that bitch.
Yeah. It's. I feel like she's too obvious as a villain. I don't know. Maybe a bit too one note. The performance is good, but it's still just kind of I can see where while I wouldn't have necessarily, I don't think I necessarily saw the exact reveal of oh, she's working with the aliens that came up last story. I mean, not directly seemingly the same alien as last time, but the planet that one's from.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily see that twist coming, but it's very obvious. It's okay, yeah, she's probably gonna turn out to be involved with how indifferent and not giving a shit. So it's just like it feels
so
like
this
they
is
could
the
have had
one.
her
This is the one
hide it
Peladon
better.
story that's not a mystery. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
we don't know how and what is going on, but yeah, it's there's definitely no whodunit aspect really.
Yeah, and it's just like if I feel like if she was portrayed like if she could actually not be like entirely mask off. She's like mask off the entire time.
Mhm.
If she was like at least putting up a bit of a front, then yeah, because otherwise it really is. And to be fair, all of the stories from this box set so far have felt very curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. But this is the one where it's like, well, yeah, duh. Like the others, it's like you could kind of be like get why the characters themselves wouldn't have necessarily seen it coming. This one, I'm like, oh, come on. How did you not see this coming? Yeah, that's all I got for that.
All right, Matt.
My notes here. Of course, someone else in the royal hierarchy somewhere is a corrupt a-hole who's causing all the problems. Why wouldn't it be? It's either them or it's got to be one of the people from off planet. It always is. It always will be.
I think this is the first time there's been an actual like evil monarch.
This is the first time for an evil monarch, but it's not the first time that someone in the not monarchy, but the
Oh yeah, usually it's like the advisor or the
advisor,
politician,
yeah.
or
Usually
yeah.
it's the advisors or somebody that's close to the monarchy that's doing the string pulling.
Which, by the way, yeah, kind of side eye at BBC and Britain and all of that, always having the benevolent monarchs that are always held back by the people.
Mhm.
But sorry, continue.
That was basically it. It's just like, yeah, we didn't see this one coming. It's very much a little bit like Alex's was too. Just like, yeah, we didn't see this one coming. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was even if we didn't have a direct tie to all the other shenanigans going on, there's something wrong with that girl. Especially how she talks down to her mother.
Mhm.
Yep.
You do not talk down to your superiors that way, child.
She very much feels like she wants to be the queen now and
Mhm.
have all the power of it, which is kind of funny considering her whole thing is, oh no, being the queen is is a death sentence. We need to never be the queen. Which that could have been an interesting plot to do on its own, without needing necessarily a bad guy. Just the whole idea of she doesn't want to ever be queen, and therefore what kind of process can happen to not have her be queen. But that's neither here nor there at this point.
Yeah, let's just make her Baruka from Willy Wonka and turn her up to 11.
Yeah.
I want it now.
All right, Aaron.
I would say, yeah, there's something weird about this episode that I was telling Alex about, that it somehow for me felt too short. Like it was over before I realized it. It was so
Here's
weird.
the crazy thing. Want to know what the crazy thing is?
Mm-hmm.
This is 10 minutes longer than any of the previous stories.
Wow.
At least 10 minutes longer. Yeah. I've been keeping track. It's been 60 minutes or less for all of them, and this is 70.
Like I think Bill said last week that last week's was like an hour 10, so this must have been an hour 20.
Yeah.
Did I say that? That might have been including the
It might have been including the interviews.
Possibly, yeah.
Which
Might
I think
have been, yeah.
Actually I can load it up in my audiobook
So it would
app
probably
now.
been an hour 20, yeah, with the interviews.
So let's see. So this is an hour 20 with interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Poison. I need to hit play. Poison was also an hour 20 with interviews.
Huh.
Interesting. Because I know it was not quite. It was like just about an hour, maybe just slightly over, but it was not a full 70 minutes. This
Might
was.
just be that it might just be that the pacing's different, so one felt quicker than the other.
Maybe.
I do feel like the pacing was like there was not really the dragging sort of things we experienced, especially in like episode 1. And this was Aaron's dislike, right? So now we get on to me, and this is another thing that's minor, but it's the first thing that comes to mind, and I haven't come up with something better. So the first Peladon story was basically, don't be racist against the Ice Warriors. They're not bad guys just because they're Ice Warriors. See how the Ice Warriors are not evil in this story. Every single story we've listened to, the Arcturans have been the ultimate bad guys. There has not yet been an Arcturan who was not, planning to strip mine Peladon and fuck anybody who's on it.
Mine the planet, destroy the core, take all the money.
Yep. Granted, we didn't actually have proper dialogue with an Arcturan who had a name in this story, so maybe that's grasping at straws a little bit. But I do hope next episode has nothing to do with Arcturans, or even that, considering it's probably set in the future, that if anything, that they're the good guys.
Maybe they've improved over the past couple decades. We'll see.
Yeah.
Favorite scenes, Alex?
Let's see. You know what? Yeah. Okay. I almost thought I'd lost it, but I'm going to go with, and I don't know, it potentially might seem like a weird choice, but the Doctor initially trying to prevent the revolt, the uprising from happening, purely because what I expected to happen was for him to get knocked out, or just generally attacked, or we're gonna drag you off, and oh yeah, of course they're gonna make us think the Doctor's in danger when, come on. But so it's mainly the fact that they don't assault him in any way. It's just well, you're not joining us, but it's not a matter
of... He just runs behind them the whole way, please don't do this. We're gonna... Stop!
Yeah,
Go!
but I'll take that over the whole, oh no, we're if you're not with us, you're against us, so we have to kill you kind of thing, which is a bit tired. So, and it makes it more believable that later she's willing to put her weapons down. That she didn't just instinctively be like, oh, well, I'm so far gone that I'm going to threaten to kill the Doctor now.
All right. Matt?
Alrighty, going back to me notes. Favorite scene. Where is it? And all of a sudden just got lost. Oh, yeah. Colin Baker doing the big doctory thing, which is to make a fake threat to try and get everyone to finally listen and finally stop what they're doing. And then, oh yeah, by the way, it's not even life-threatening.
I guess it was a little more credible than a Jammy Dodger.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not quite Jammy Dodger or a Killer Jelly Baby, so it's still very much a doctor thing to do to get people to finally shut up and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, it's as much as noise and lights. Terribly sorry about that. Anyways, presume.
All right, Aaron, favorite scene.
Favorite scene? I like the fact that Mel took the time to cover the dead miner with her coat.
Hmm.
I thought it was kind of sad, but it was also, it kind of showed like she was like a good person and everything. And even during the explosion, she's just like, well, what about them or him laying on the ground there? So like, even though it was obvious that they were long dead or that they were already dead, she was still willing to kind of ask, like, hey, can't we do something for them?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My favorite scene. Probably haven't spent as much time trying to think of this as I have on other things. I like. Well, that's a thing. That's not a scene. But either way, so yeah, I guess I'll go with. I mean, it kind of represents the idea. So the scene where they're questioning Mel because they're reasonable. They give her painkillers, they let her rest, they let her talk, they listen to her. Even though Isabelda probably hates everything Mel represents, they're not like, she's lying, throw her in the dungeon. None of that shit. That shit that happens in every single Doctor Who story and is tiring and bogs down the plot. They're like, let's skip that shit. Let's bring her with us to the Doctor and progress the plot instead of throwing her in a cell and forcing her to escape and slow down the plot. Granted, they do throw her into a cell later, but not just because she showed up and was a stranger.
Travis a rudder and runner aground. We'll try so hard to slow the plot down.
I hope the MST3K people are not quick triggered with the copyright claims.
I don't think so. They're usually very good and mannered about it. Hell, they even promoted piracy of their own episodes. That's why they keep saying for the longest time, keep spreading the tapes.
All right, least favorite scenes, Alex.
I'm going to go with Isabella being shot, but not because she's shot, but because I swear to God, what's her name had thrown her weapon down, but then suddenly has it again in time to split second shoot her to save the queen.
I don't think she ever said they dropped it. She definitely lowered it.
There's
I
a
think she
sound
might have
effect
dropped
that
it during
like
the
she
scene
dropped
when
it.
she was holding it to the queen's head. And then I think this was like, I think she picked it up after like Isabelda and the queen left the room.
Oh, yeah, that might have been the scene before that.
I mean, from what I remember, and I guess to be fair, I did only get the chance to listen to this the once. It sounded like when they're at the waterfall or whatever, like she drops it again to be
It's
like,
a click, but it's not a thud.
And then somehow just like it's, and this could just be a matter of like me remembering it wrong, but it sounded like it's like, okay, I'm getting closer, so I should probably put my gun down so she doesn't shoot, and
But
then
also
somehow picks it right back up and shoots it down, and it's like, what?
Well,
Yeah,
also to be fair,
might
it could
be
have been an
easier.
action scene where she dove for the gun and got her.
Yeah.
Could be,
Yeah, that's a scene that might be easier in live action rather than audio.
Yeah, very much would be.
And it's kind of funny because it seems like a scene you would have expected in the previous story, given that River was in it.
So my least favorite thing?
Yep. Or least favorite scene, yeah.
Least favorite thing: the princess stupidly thinking that she's still somehow going to walk away after shooting her mother. How much of a bad villain moment was that? And the last time this kind of moment was done, and they got shot for it because they're being stupid, was, I believe, Die Hard, and that was 30 years ago, and it was much better done. Managing to
You know
hold
what?
on by the wristwatch and then click. Oh, bye.
Why did she shoot her? Like, you have
Why
she shot her mother, who she was planning to take to escape with her, but she did it non-fatally, which made the point of shooting her pointless because now nobody believes you're going to kill her. Well, Hellas believes you're going to kill her, but that's. I didn't like. They were like, she needs to shoot her. Like, I'm just thinking the writers, like, she needs to shoot her to prove she's serious, but she's not serious, and she's not going to kill her.
And stop calling me Shirley.
All right, all done with that one?
Yep, that was basically
All right.
this lame villain ending.
Yep. Aaron, least favorite scene.
Least favorite scene, let's see here. There's a point where she's arguing, where Isabelda is arguing with her mother. And there's like there's like a riot going on in the background, but like you can't really hear the riot that well. It's kind of weird. It doesn't quite work. So like it feels like the sounds in the background are a little muffled until I think you hear like an explosion or something. So yeah, I don't know. Didn't like it. But whatever. Like that otherwise I didn't really have too much of a bad time with it. Like I enjoyed just about everything I listened to.
So just the whole like fight going on in the background.
Yeah, the fight going on in the
Just had a
background.
really
I think
awkward
I just
scene,
remember
audio,
like
yeah.
I just remember it being kind of quiet and stuff. It doesn't really sound like a riot or anything. And that there was just something weird because there was like this little like peep 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 sound, and it's just like, what is that sound? Why?
Okay. All right, so I'll say my least favorite scene is Isabelda taking Minaris hostage, because it just, well, for one thing, it feels kind of out of nowhere in the sense that it was like you were on her side the whole time. Hellas was the one who was threatening to kill her and then gave up. So it's, you're just going to take the person that you plan to take with you off planet as your hostage. But then also the fact that like Minaris she's like, you come with me, and it's like you don't actually hear her like grabbing her and fighting her. So I just kind of imagine that she's just pointing to her like, come with me, and Minaris just walks over to her. Like, she feels like she's Isabelda's like puppet almost throughout the entire story, and like she doesn't have her own opinions. She's just listening, doing whatever she's told by Isabelda almost. And I guess that's supposed to be because of the headache and whatever, but so then this just makes it worse that she's just literally like, you come with me to be my hostage. Okay, I will come with you to be your hostage. And maybe that would have been more believable in live action, but in audio it did not work. And like you don't hear her struggling or arguing throughout the whole thing. Like she speaks once or twice, but like she doesn't seem to actually defend herself from Isabelda in any way. All right, final thoughts, Alex.
I'd say this is definitely my favorite of the ones we've covered so far. I mean, it definitely says something that I was struggling with an overall to find a negative, and even then, both that and the scene I picked were both very nitpicky anyway. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here, because over the course of the box set, we've just been ravaging this planet to the point of like you'd almost expect the next one to be fucking a Mad Max pastiche. The way this planet's just been absolutely
Let's freaking go all shiny and chrome.
um yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. And again, I'm also glad that while again we've kind of left things a bit open-ended, just like, well, we'll see where we go from here. Like last time, this also still felt ultimately fairly self-contained. So yeah, I would definitely I would still recommend the whole box set so far, but this is a one where I'm like, if you don't want to listen to all of them, I would say listen to this one.
Yeah.
All right, Matt.
All right, the final thoughts, notes. Well, there are a few things to possibly have tweaked with the nitpicks that I have of it. The overall general feeling is that I'm very happy with the story, outside of again some predictable things. And the characters were really well done, very well voiced, some very good dialogues, some interesting interactions between all of them, and their interesting motivations. Because if the side characters don't have good motivations, this whole thing falls apart. Um, let's see here. But yeah, overall, just felt the whole thing has been a very enjoyable run. I don't think anything in particular on this one blew me out of the water, but everything made me very happy. That's my general
Well done.
on that. Yep.
Okay,
So,
Aaron.
I kind of like, when Isabelda is like about ready to fall off of the cliff and whatnot, like the doctor's like reaching out to her and calling out, just hang on, just hang on. It's like that all feels very reminiscent of the Sixth Doctor era, where he's like trying to save a person and they die horribly or seemingly die horribly by falling off a cliff. And yeah, it's your typical kind of PG-13 end like that, but just kind of like that kind of desperation to save people and then you just can't save them, that you also see in RTD's era a lot. I like how they played that up. It felt, overall, the whole adventure kind of felt very much like it was from the Sixth Doctor era, only better written. So that's it for me.
Okay. So I'm starting to think there's nothing at all linking these stories, which may cause me to go back and dock Ordeal for all of its prophesying about the future. If that doesn't actually pan out to anything. I mentioned Alpha Centauri is more in line with their previous stories than they were in Poison. This story felt like it really made the small cast work better than some of the recent stories we reviewed. For example, in live action, Hellayes would have had a named lieutenant, but the stories were so intertwined here that it feels like we just have the right number of characters to tell the story properly. I'm going to agree with others that this was, a really good entry to the box set. Even though it was a little atypical for a Peladon story, there's no whodunit. It was still a good, solid story. And yeah, I wouldn't mind re-listening at some point. Ratings.
You know what? While it wouldn't necessarily be like with the absolute upper echelon stuff that I would otherwise give this to, the fact that it was relatively hard for me to think of anything negative, honestly, I'm going to give this a 5.
5.0. Matt.
I'm saving that 5.0 for hopefully a really good finale for this particular box set. So I'm still giving this a 4.5 at the moment.
4.5.
I'll see what happens.
Okay, Aaron.
Hmm.
Aaron, who by the way has not rated Ordeal of Peladon yet. If you plan to.
Oh yeah, I should probably go back and do like a review of that here. I'll try to find time before the next podcast, so I should certainly be able to do that for you guys. I would probably I don't know if I'd give it a 5.0 just yet. But I think it's better than a 4.5. I would
Gotta pick one or the other.
yeah.
One or the other.
I think I'm gonna go with a 4.5.
All right. I'm going to agree with the majority. I like it. I don't think it's quite at that 5.0 pinnacle just yet, but it is a 4.5.
I will say I will rethink it if the next episode very much heavily ties some things from this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And they
however,
do so well.
Right. This does continue the trend of every story in this box set having a higher overall rating. This is a 4.63 out of 5. And that places it as number 48 out of 469 things reviewed. It is on par with Susan's War, The Uncertain Shore, and Zagreus. It is not as good as Susan's War, The Shoreditch Intervention, Class in Remembrance, and Fifth Doctor Adventures, The Lost Resort. And it is better than War Doctor, The Thousand Worlds, The Heart of Battle, Spare Parts, Fifth Doctor Adventures, The Perils of Nellie Bly, and Ninth Doctor Adventures, The Hunting Season, which are all relatively recent reviews. Okay, so that is our thoughts on the Death of Peladon. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this week's story if you've listened to it. Don't forget to like the video if you've listened this far. Subscribe on YouTube to get our exports every week, or follow us on Twitch to get notified when we stream. Next time, we wrap up the Peladon box set and the 2022 Scribe Awards. It's taken us a while. With The Truth of Peladon, written by Tim Foley and starring Paul McGann as the Doctor. We'll see you then.
Woo!